Hey, welcome back and welcome to our Tuesday night live broadcast. We are still in Florida. If you were on last week's broadcast, you'll know that we've been here for a little bit of time now. Our family's been vacationing down here and yeah. Anyway, welcome to our Tuesday night live broadcast. If you are watching live with us, hi. If you are watching the recording, hi. So great to have you. Whether this is your first time listening or you've been here before, if you have not, make sure to hit the red subscribe button. That way you do get notified when we upload. We upload 4 times a week, believe it or not, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we are live every single Tuesday night. We do fit tips, weight loss tips. We have whenever I discover a really amazing, because I'm always experimenting with foods. Like always. I love to cook. I love to create delicious, scrumptious, nummy things that are that are picky, husband approved, kid approved. And whenever I find like a really good winner, then I share that here on the channel as well. And so make sure to hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, that way you don't miss any of those. And if you find anything useful that we share tonight, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, smash that like button. It really greatly helps out our channel here. Anyway, let's dive in. So tonight I want to talk to you about skinny life versus morbidly obese life. I am a former morbidly obese woman. Let me just say that and make that very clear. Just in case this is your first video you've ever watched and you just had the thought of, honey, what do you know about morbidly obese life? I know a lot. I am a former morbidly obese woman. I am 161 pounds down from where I used to be. I used to top the scale at 288 pounds. I busted out of a size 22, wearing Spanx under everything, even in the summer. In Atlanta, Georgia, imagine, hot Atlanta, wearing yoga pants, a black tank top, and a shirt. And under that, I would shove myself into Spanx every single day, even when we were just going to a park. I lacked in confidence. I didn't like the reflection that always, was staring back at me in the mirror. I didn't like shopping in the plus size section. I so desperately longed to shop in the regular section. I desperately longed to be able to walk into the mall and shop in any store versus these little tiny stores for plus size women. And yeah, I spent more than a decade as a weight loss failure, trying every diet under the sun, only to land me right back at my good old 288 pounds, which I didn't even know I weighed for the longest time. I was like the anti-scale girl. Look, when you're overweight, you already know you're fluffy. You already know you're fluffy. You don't need a scale to tell you fluffy. You already can look in the mirror and know that you're fluffy. And so I chose to go the route of denial and did not weigh myself regularly. The scale and I, for a very long time, we were enemies. I almost said frenemies, but no, we weren't frenemies. We were clearly enemies. And we've since mended. We are really good friends now. I have a very healthy relationship with the scale today. I realize that the scale is not out to get me. It just gives me data. So if you, some of you, if you've never struggled with your weight rate ever, you're like, what? You and the scale were enemies? Yes. Yes, we were real life, enemies. Anyway, I used to be that overweight person that would say, well, I was the overweight person that never talked about being overweight. Yes, I knew I was overweight, but I just pretended that it didn't bother me. I pretended that I put on this confidence every single day when I got dressed. I put on this face of confidence. And I was really good at fooling a lot of people around me on how confident I was, that my weight didn't bother me. And I was so good at it that for quite a while, I actually convinced myself. I convinced myself that my weight really didn't bother me. I convinced myself that I was completely 100% perfectly fine with being morbidly obese. And I even started to believe that maybe that was just my lot in life, that my people were big people and I was never destined to be one of those little bikini wearing fit people. Those people that are like, come on, girl. You're one workout away from a good mood. Those people, skinny feels better than any food tastes. Those people? Yeah, I wanted to punch those people in the freaking face Because in my mind, here I am, morbidly obese, struggling, riding the struggle bus every day. And here you are with your skinny little size 2 self. That's what I wanted to do many times. I judge them very harshly. I've since asked forgiveness for many of those people. But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is I had convinced myself for many years that being overweight wasn't that big of a deal. That there wasn't that big of a difference between my life as a morbidly obese woman and someone who carried a regular healthy weight. But now, being on the other side of it, going from a size 20, busting out of a size 22 down to a size 2, living life as a morbidly obese woman for years and years and years and years, and then living life as a size 2 woman for years and years and years and years and years. I now have a different perspective. Having walked down both paths, having lived in both bodies, having traveled in both bodies, having had sex in both bodies, I clearly have a different perspective today. And so I wanted tonight I wanted to talk about what those differences are. And I could talk to you for days about some of them, but just touch on a couple of the biggest ones. So first I want to start with this, because this was probably the most shocking one to me, is how much extra stress I carried around as a morbidly obese woman. Things would stress me out that I was so used to stressing me out, I didn't even realize it stressed me out. It wasn't until I lost 161 pounds and didn't have those same worries that I was like, wow, I'm not stressed about this at all. So for instance, traveling used to be a huge stress for me because I was 288 pounds. When I was traveling, the last thing I wanted to do was get stuck traveling in the middle seat where I was spilling into other people's seats. I wanted the window seat very desperately, very badly. And so whenever it came time to check in, I would check in as soon as I could, hoping to get that window seat so that I could spill my extra fluff into the window versus into somebody else's seat, versus having to sit there and wrap myself up, self-conscious, uncomfortable, afraid of what they're thinking, because they were clearly thinking something. I mean, come on, you got 200, I was the person people saw on the plane getting on, and if there was the middle seat, they were thinking, please don't pick here. And I knew that, I clearly knew that they were thinking that. And most of them probably obviously were. And so there would almost be this anxiety, this stress that would rise up in me when I would go to travel, because what if I can't get the aisle seat? And so until I got the aisle seat, then I would be like, oh, okay. And then there was the day so once I got the window seat, that anxiety went down a little bit. Then it was getting on the plane. Most seat belts I could barely strap myself into without needing an extender. I never needed an extender, but there were times on the airplane I would have to work. I would have to suck it in and to strap that seatbelt to get it to click. I would always try to play it off and be all nonchalant. I didn't want my boyfriend or fiance or husband to see me struggle to clip the seatbelt. So I would just kind of fiddle with it and then stop and then fiddle with it and then finally get it buckled and be like, whew. And it was always tight. I never had any tail at the end of the seatbelt, but it was always this huge, giant stress. And I can remember the first time traveling as a size 2 woman who had lost weight. And yeah, I still checked in, but there was a different feeling about it. There wasn't this feeling of, oh my gosh, if I don't get the window, there wasn't this emotion about it. It was, yes, I prefer the window, but if I don't get it, no big deal. It's not a big deal. I can remember getting on the airplane and buckling the seatbelt and just pulling it. And I could not believe how light, that's the only way I can describe it, how light I felt. It was this feeling of freedom is the best way I can describe it. It was wow, This is how normal people travel. And up until that point, I didn't even realize how much anxiety and stress went into traveling. There was anxiety and stress just about eating. Okay? So clearly I was morbidly obese. Everybody could see that I was overweight and fluffy. Like, you don't miss a 288-pound woman coming in. And so we would go to a restaurant, and I would make, sometimes, not always, but I would make different decisions about what I would order based on who I was with. So if I was with people that were like healthy, then I would try to order, I wouldn't always just order what I wanted to order, because I was self-conscious about my size constantly. If you are obese, overweight, morbidly obese, and you're self-conscious, what we don't realize a lot of times is that carries into every single thing we do. And so there would be stress and anxiety about the food I was going to order. And what would they think if the fluffy girl ordered the biggest burger on the menu? And then if I did order it, so let's just say I did order fluffy food. And this is what is so silly. Like, anybody at the table looked at me and thought, wow, she eats all salads all day long. Like, no, nobody obviously thought that. Like, I was 288 pounds. Like, nobody thought, wow, she eats super duper healthy. I just know she does. No, they could look at me and clearly tell that no matter what I put in my mouth in public, what I was putting in my mouth in private was showing up on my freaking body. I don't know who thought I was kidding. But let's just say I did order food that was not healthy. Let's say I got the burger, or I got the wet burrito, or I got the nachos. I would always be like, oh, I'm so full. Or I would take home half my meal. Whether I was full or not. I would stop eating. Very rarely did I ever finish my food at a restaurant as a morbidly obese woman. More often than not, I took it home with me. And if I'm being 100% honest, full disclosure, 90% of the time when I took home leftovers, I would get home, open up the box, and eat the leftovers. They wouldn't make it to the fridge. I wasn't stuffed at the restaurant. It was almost like a defense mechanism to defend what I perceived as judgments, to deflect, defend, whatever you want to call it. But there was like all this stress and anxiety over eating a restaurant. Because you know what? Now we go to a restaurant, I don't give a rip what I order or what anybody thinks of it. What's like, if now they're like, oh yeah, she's a size 2 and she works out. Oh yeah, she's all into fitness. She's ordering a cheeseburger with bacon. Like, I don't even care. Ooh. And if I eat it all, and what? Like, there's just not even the same. Now, here's what I will say. I should have never cared what other people thought. I should have never put other people's opinions up here. But I did, because it was already something I was self-conscious about. When it's something we're self-conscious about, we're already aware of it. So when we're aware of it, we think everybody else is aware of it, whether they are or not. Because it wasn't fair to the people around me to constantly think they were judging me, but I thought it because I was judging myself. Now at a size 2, I have balance. I'm not insecure about what I eat, any of that stuff. So I don't project that onto other people. Are you with me? So I just wanted to say that. Like, it wasn't, any of these feelings that I had weren't right. They just were, they were just there. And in my experience from, losing the weight and then helping other women do the same thing, I'm not the only one that has dealt with these things. I could remember, sticking on the whole eating bandwagon. Like, let's just say we were at, I don't know, wherever it was. It could be at my own house. And I would have like a mini candy bar, or I would have, something to snack on. And I didn't want anybody to know. So I would take the wrapper, shove it into the bottom of the trash can. Like, how ridiculous is that? There were times where I would pick up McDonald's on the way home, or pick up some stuff on the way home for my husband and I to eat. Well, I would order an extra something and eat it on the way home. So let's just say he got a number 2, I got a number 4. I don't even know what those are these days, but he got a number 2, I got a number 4. I would get an extra double cheeseburger or an extra McDouble or an extra McChicken and eat that extra sandwich on the way home and then eat my value meal. And in my mind, I wasn't being dishonest because if he asked me, I would have told him, but I didn't volunteer it. Are you with me? So like I would do all these silly things to protect, and there was all this anxiety around it. There was anxiety around going to the beach, wearing anything tight, getting dressed in general. Let's just talk about that. Getting dressed. Like getting dressed was such a stress. Like I can remember like getting dressed and shimmying myself into Spanx. And then there would be, when you're overweight, you have layers that go on your body. And so there would be layers of clothes. And it was just, I never wore a dress without Spanx. I never got dressed without something to suck in and smooth out all the fluffy rolls and jiggles and ripples and creases and cracks and whatever it is that you want to call it. And so there was always a stress about getting dressed. There was stress about going shopping. You know, it's really sad. Most little girls dream about going wedding dress shopping. And I did for a long time. What I didn't envision was being a size 22 when I went wedding dress shopping. What I didn't envision is having all this stress and anxiety about going and nothing fitting me. Which as a size 22, you know, you're at the top end of the sizes. Most brides aren't walking in there in a size 22. And so I went wedding dress shopping all by myself. It wasn't because I didn't have people to go with me. It was because I had stress and anxiety and I didn't want to feel stupid. I didn't want to be humiliated. I didn't want everybody else to see all the dresses that I liked not fitting me or not zipping up on me. And so I went wedding dress shopping by myself. And then when I finally picked out 3 that I could get on, I took my mom and my girlfriends back and I let them help me pick between those 3. And I think back and I'm like, gosh, there are so many ways that I isolated myself because of my insecurities, because I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to feel stupid. I didn't want people to judge me. I didn't talk about my weight to anybody. I didn't own a scale for the better part of my adult life because it was this painful part of myself that I felt out of control. And I felt like I had tried all these ways, I had tried all these times, but nothing worked. I would see other before and afters of other women, and I would just say, God, how come they can, but I can't? How come it worked for them, but I keep failing? How come I don't want to eat the Snickers, but I keep eating it? Like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I just can't do it. And this was me for a very long time. There was stress, about my sex life. I can remember, my husband, we didn't have sex before we got married. He was a virgin. I had sex in previous relationships, but we didn't. And, I knew that there was just when you have extra fluff on your body, there's just certain positions you cannot do. And my husband, bless his heart, he's one of the most amazing men on the planet. He never, he married me at my heaviest. He married me at 288 pounds and never made me feel stupid about any of it. And there would be times where he would say, hey, let's do this position. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't think my body will do that. But I'm like, I don't want to tell him that because he doesn't understand. Like, he was never morbidly obese. Like, the biggest he ever was, a couple of years back when he was 40 pounds overweight. And most of that was in his belly. And so, like, he didn't know what being morbidly obese was or how or any of that because he didn't see me that way. And so we would get into a position and we would try something and it wouldn't work. The parts would not connect the way they were supposed to. And he would be like, oh, okay. And he would just then he would feel bad because he asked me to do something that I couldn't do. There was a time where we went on a vacation and he surprised me with lingerie. It was an anniversary trip. And he got me 3 different things and 2 of them didn't fit. So I'm like, Like I try them on, they don't fit. And so now there's stress because they don't fit. But I don't want to make him feel bad because he was being sweet. And so I'm like, so then I'm just not putting them on. And he's like, hey, are you going to put those on? I'm like, yeah, later. Yeah, later. He's like, hey, are you going to put those on? Yeah, not right now. Hey, are you going to put those on? And I finally had to say, babe, they don't fit me. And he was like, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. And so there was this stress over in our marriage about our sex life. And it was just, people used, and I used to say, you know, our sex life was really good. And I believed that it was. But let me just tell you, you go drop 161 pounds and you have a lot more freedom in the bedroom than I ever did as a morbidly obese woman. Like it blows and I don't have this stress before we're intimate about, is he going to want the lights on? Is he going to get me lingerie that may or may not fit me? Is he going to want to do a position that my morbidly obese body just won't do? There was stress and anxiety about any kind of roller coaster, horseback riding, any kind of activity. Let's just say that. Whether it was horseback riding, kayaking. Like I can remember we would be on vacations. And again, when you're morbidly obese, you're always looking at the limitations because you know there's a weight limit. Well, my husband had never even come close to the weight limit. So he didn't read the fine print that said the weight limit. So we'd be on vacation and he'd be like, hey, why don't we do that horseback riding thing? Before I get excited, I turn the brochure. I look to see the weight limit. 230 pounds. Nope, can't do that. And instead of just being honest with him and saying, hey, I'm overweight, I'm too fluffy to do that, I would be like, maybe. Hoping he would get the hint. He'd be like, hey, we should do that clear bottom kayak thing. I'd be like, oh, what is that? Turn the page, weight limit, 200 pounds, 215 pounds. Ain't gonna fit there. I'd be like, man, I don't really know. I mean, maybe. Going out and jet skiing, falling off the jet ski, and not being able to pull my morbidly obese body back onto the jet ski. Going to a theme park, thinking I can fit on a roller coaster and not being able to, and being asked to exit the ride because I'm too large to be buckled inside. There was stress about all these things. My life was one big ball of stress and anxiety and worry, and I did not even know it. I had gotten so used to living in this place that I did not even realize the stress, the heaviness of the weight that I was carrying around with me every single day. I had convinced myself that it was just life. I wasn't stressed about being overweight. I was 100% okay with it. But what I was really doing was lying to myself. I get asked a lot and I get emotional about it because I'm so glad that I tried again. I'm so glad that I didn't stay stuck. I'm so glad that I didn't choose what I thought was the easier path. I'm so glad that I had the courage to say, I'm worth it. And I want to encourage you tonight that if you are that person who has given up, given in, if you're that person who has tears coming down your face, because I'm describing your life too, that may be where you're at, but it's not where you have to stay. There is hope. There is hope. You can do this. Even if you are a past failure like I was, and I had failed for a decade I failed at weight loss. Just because your past is failure doesn't mean your future is. You can have failed for 10, 5, 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden get back up in the batter's box and hit it out of the park. Your next time might be your home run. But you won't ever know unless you get back up and you go for it. Weight loss is simple, but it is hard. Don't let anybody tell you it's gonna be easy. It's not. There's gonna be days where you wanna quit, you wanna give up, you wanna give in. But being overweight is hard too. Everything I just described to you was really hard. My life every day was hard. So I made a different decision. I started making some changes. And people say, would you do it again? And the answer is a resounding 100% every day and 10 times on Sunday. It was so worthwhile. It was so worth the hard. It was worth my time. It was worth the energy. I would never trade back for the freedom that I get to enjoy today. And if you're somebody, look, if you don't believe in yourself, sometimes you have to borrow somebody else's belief. There were times in my weight loss path, journey, transformation that I didn't believe in myself, that I doubted myself. And it was taking somebody else's confidence and borrowing it until I was able to grow my own. And last but not least, before we end, if you're like, but I just need someone to show me how. Like, Carmen, I want to, yes, I know I need to make a change. Below, I will make sure to post it below in the description box, a link. We run boot camps every single month where we help women cross over from stress and striving and struggling to succeeding. And so if you're somebody who's like, just show me and I will do it, and you know that you do better where two or more are gathered, that's me. I do much better. I tried it on my own for a very long time and I failed because I thought I don't need nobody. That whole secrecy thing. I'll just keep all my little morbidly obese stuff right here inside of me. I finally had to say, how well is that working? It's not. And then I got smart and got myself in a tribe of women who were all doing the same thing. And I had accountability and encouragement and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna drop the link if that's you and you're like, I know where two or more are gathered, there is power. I want in on that. Fill that out, leave me a comment, and I'll send you the information. And it may or may not be for you. Hey, it could be a way for you to finally lose that weight once and for all. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Don't forget,